What's up y'all, my name is Jesse with Greatt Builds, and in today's video I'm going to show you how to easily build your own cornhole boards. Material wise, you'll need 4 8-foot 2x4s and 2 4-foot by 2-foot plywood sheets that can be found at your local hardware store. You'll cut 4 at 45 inches, 4 at 24 inches, 4 at 13 inches with a 30-degree angle, and 2 sheets of plywood cut at 2 feet by 4 feet. And here is the simple layout of these boards. The 24-inch boards will be the face boards on either side. Now, you'll grab your pocket hole jig and drill 4 holes on the 24-inch boards and 5 holes on the 45-inch boards, along with 2 holes on either end of the 45-inch boards. I use a Craig jig, but there's a bunch of other options to choose from to make these pocket holes. Next, grab your plywood sheet to attach the sides. This is optional, but I use wood glue along all the edges just to have a stronger bond. Be sure not to drill your pocket screws too far in so that they do not go through the plywood. Now, grab your 13-inch cuts and also any round object to draw the rounded end on the 2x4. I use a jigsaw to make this cut, which is probably the easiest way to perform this cut. Now, set your miter saw to 30 degrees and cut the opposite end on the 13-inch boards. You can use the other leg as a template so that they match exactly. For the holes on the legs, I measure 1.75 inches from the side and 1 inch from the top. Be sure to use a drill bit that is the same size as your carriage bolts to attach the legs. Once the legs are done, I grabbed my sander to smooth out the legs on the rounded side so that they'll move smoothly when installed. To attach the legs, I grabbed some scrap 2x4 to use as a spacer for the legs. Use the same drill bit to make the pilot hole through each end of the board. Be sure to use a washer on each side of the legs so that they do not bind up and can move freely. You'll need a socket wrench to make sure that the nut gets tightened up, and I like to use 2 nuts so that they will be less likely to loosen up over time. Now, flip your board over and measure 9 inches from the top and 12 inches from the side, as this is the regulation measurements for a standard cornhole board. The best option to cut the hole would be to use a 6-inch hole saw to make it a perfect circle. Once the hole's cut, I grab my router with a round over bit to smooth out the inside edges along with the parameter of the board. Next, grab a sander and use both 240 grit and 320 grit sandpaper to smooth out the entire board and knock off any rough edges. After this step, you could add a poly coat to this boards and be all finished up, but I decided to add a simple design to the top, and to do this I measured 12 inches from the side to make a triangle that is perfectly centered on the board. Once the paint dries, I wanted to add some borders to the board, so I taped off 1.5 inches from the sides and got 2 coats on them as well. The tape I used was frog tape, and that's always been the best to stop the paint from bleeding through. After all the paint is dry, I added 3 coats of polyurethane and sanded in between each coat with a higher grit each time. I started with 240 grit, 320 grit, and finally 400 grit to finish off the board. I really appreciate you watching this video, and if you haven't already, please consider subscribing, as I will be uploading a lot more fun beginner DIY videos. Thanks again for watching, take care!